Good morning. Hello, everybody. Sorry, a few minutes late. Poor Isacc and Megan weren't too sure how to come into the stream. But that's all good. How is everyone this morning? It's miserable and rainy here today, but it's actually Ghost Gamer's birthday today. So my 16-year-old is turning 17 and is already talking about going to 18. And I'm just like, whoa, back it up, back it up. Hi, Josh. Hello, Adam. Who else we got? We've got Daniel in here. Daniel was in here first. Way to go, Daniel. So, yeah, go share, everyone, just so, yeah, everyone knows that we're live now, because good old YouTube likes to not send out notifications. So, hi, Jan. Today I've got my friends Isacc and Megan coming on. They've got the podcast Hidden in the Shadows. And yeah, they're, I think, nearly at 3,000 followers on IG. So they've, covered some really interesting topics. So I can't wait to dive in and talk to them about it. And I have been a guest on their podcast twice now. Hi, V-Team. So, yeah, I think one was earlier this year, maybe the end of last year. And, yeah, one more recently where we were talking about the haunted mirror story. So that was fun. And, yes, I'll have to get Isacc to tell you guys what happened while I was telling that story. So I will bring them on. So everyone give Isacc and Megan a warm welcome. Good morning or good evening for you guys.
Good evening,
yeah.
Gosh, yeah, because it's what, 10 o'clock your time then?
Yeah.
So how have you guys been? I love the preview of the interview on Friday.
Oh yeah, that comes out tomorrow.
No, it came out today.
Today, is it? I lost my track of days of time and all that. Sorry.
It's all right. So you guys, started like this podcast around a year ago, wasn't it? Like, I think you guys started around the same time that I did. Is that about right?
Yeah, it was like July of last year.
Yeah, exactly when I started. Oh, well, that's pretty cool. What inspired you to start, doing a podcast?
I can see you in the thing, Megan. You don't have to look at me.
Sorry.
And in preparation, I do apologize. I haven't written down any questions or anything because I've been very unwell with a sinus infection. So, yeah, we'll just go with it.
No, we originally did it from another podcast called Not Your Average Conversation podcast, essentially, which majority of our conversations at night would be interesting and weird and not average. And we thought, like, this should be recorded. This should be a podcast. And we started that one. But we talked about paranormal things every now and then and within the normal podcast. And people wanted to hear more from that. So we decided to do another podcast that was strictly just paranormal stuff. And that one really took off the moon. So we decided, let's do this. Let's just keep doing the paranormal stuff because that's seems what most people are interested in versus just like us talking about everyday stuff.
Like it's definitely like a big thing in the States, and I think even in the UK, but Australia, I don't know, it's like this underground secret, if you will, especially in Perth. Like, as far as I'm aware, like, I'm the only female investigator or investigator in general that's doing, investigations, putting them on YouTube and all that kind of thing. But yeah, like it's like it's a secret and no one wants to talk about it.
It's funny because you guys
Hi,
got
Dan.
a lot of hotspots.
Yeah, we do. I haven't been able to travel over east to investigate any places over there because of COVID and all that. And we were planning a trip to Tasmania with some friends of ours, but yeah, COVID, and it's just going crazy over that side of Australia. So I'm not allowed to leave.
Oh yeah.
Mm. So, like with the podcast, what, um, like how do you like think yours stands out? Like, how is yours different to, the other paranormal podcast?
Well, the reason why I wanted to start a paranormal podcast, and Megan did as well, I listen to podcasts regularly, from wrestling
Mm.
to like rock music to paranormal to just regular comedy stuff. But what I noticed with paranormal podcasts, they seem to put on a character, like they're performing, like they're reading from a script, like it's heavily edited, and
Mm.
it wasn't real. It wasn't like real people talking. It always seemed like it was just like I said, like a character, like they're putting on an act. And I wanted to hear something real.
Mm.
And me and
Yeah.
Megan, we both have, a novel's worth of experience between us. So, like I said
Mm.
before, we haven't experienced everything we talk about. But we've experienced most things we talk about. And
Yeah.
I think that's what separates us from most is that we have experienced a lot of stuff. We're not outsiders looking in the paranormal. We're part of it, and because we live it
Mm.
as paranormal investigators and also as psychics at the same time. So we live the paranormal every day. That she's been in a haunted house every since she was born. Every house she's ever
Oh,
lived in.
wow, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They seem to follow me, so with the abilities and everything. And
Mm.
yeah.
Yes, I've noticed the same thing with myself. Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, you guys talk about a lot of really deep topics. What kind of feedback do you get from that?
I would say good feedback. A good amount
Yeah.
of people like start following us and liking us and commenting. We actually gained a lot of people who were into the paranormal and also fellow investigators who liked how we commented on things when it comes to investigating and stuff like that.
Mm.
We had a whole episode on investigations and investigators way back when, but we probably should do an update since we are investigators now. So
Yeah.
when it comes to experiencing things and being out in the field and doing stuff like that. Like we always do a haunted update, and most of the times at the beginning or end of our episodes from stuff we've experienced, because there's always a haunted update with us when it comes to
Yeah.
stuff. Um,
Mm.
like just her experiencing stuff, me experiencing stuff. What was our most recent one that happened like a couple days ago?
About what?
A haunted update. Where'd you go?
I'm sorry. No, I thought it was
No. Get
sorry.
with it, Megan. Good Lord.
No, sometimes like I zone off because like I'll get I don't know what it is about the room that we're in right now, but like it's literally
Mm.
I guess because I meditate in that room. I don't know what, but anytime like the microphone is on, it's like let's go bombard Megan with messages. Let's see. So I'm like, no, don't. I'm trying to do this.
At
But
least you meditate. Like,
yeah,
I'm still trying to make the attempt to even do it.
it's so important. If I don't meditate, I will literally go insane just because they just flow and I don't really know how to put up the block yet to be like, hey, don't talk to me while I'm cooking. Don't talk to me,
Yeah.
when I'm doing this because
Mm.
it'll flood. And some days it's worse than others. Some days I'll go the whole day without anything kind of bothering me. And then
Yeah.
there's some days where it's just like it's a crowd. It's like I'm in a crowded room. And
Mm.
so, yeah.
Yeah, it can get quite overwhelming for sure.
Yeah. And I think
No, sorry, go.
and like with my abilities now, like I'm starting to kind of like dig deeper and dig deeper. And right now I'm actually starting to see things like, like when you see something like a shadow and you in your corner of your eye or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
that is starting to become more prevalent. And starting to see who it is more and more. And so like the other
Oh.
day I was freaking out because I was just seeing things all around me, and I was like, okay, maybe it's just my imagination, maybe I'm just like, it's just little things and I'm thinking it's something else. But I mean, it was straight up like shadows of people. So,
Mm.
and it's really
Okay.
fast. It's really fast moving too. Like I'll see it for a
Mm.
split second and I can't even like make out what it is, and then it'll be gone.
Yeah. Oh wow.
So yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. How long have you guys like like Isaac, you were saying like you've got, years and years of experience. Like how long have you been, into the paranormal and researching it and stuff?
I was always a fan of it ever since I was a kid. Like ghost stories and stuff like that, and my family would tell me from different backstories and stuff like that, experiences my uncles had and stuff like that. My father
Mm.
told me a story when he was when I was young. I think he told me a story that he was in California where he was staying at a house, and he was just because he was working a contracting business, so he had to be at different locations across the United States for this big company he worked for. So sometimes
Mm.
a business or the construction company that would own a few houses, and they'd put like staging furniture in there, and they would say, hey, just go ahead and stay here for the night. Don't rent a hotel. It's on us. So sometimes he would do that. And one of them he stayed
Mm.
at, he thought somebody broke in. And he woke up in the middle of the night because he heard someone walking around. And he even saw like a shadow figure of a person standing in the hallway.
Oh.
And this my dad was young. He had to be in his 30s. And he
Mm.
wanted like, hey, get out of here. And he started chasing this thing, and
Mm.
it ran into the wall, and
Holy shit.
he stopped and froze and was like, what? He turned on the lights
Oh my
on.
gosh.
He turned on the lights on in the house, and like there was nobody there. And remember he told his boss about it, and he was like, oh yeah, we've heard stories coming from that place. I should have warned you ahead of time. Uh
Holy cow.
but yeah, I
So
remember that.
did your dad have abilities as well? Do you know?
No. I come to find out because the Shadow Walker ability that I have, and I'll probably talk a little bit if you want more on it, because for anyone who's
Mm.
watching, um,
Yeah.
that is so minute and so rare when it comes to psychic abilities. I thought I maybe came from my bloodline, and I had to come from
Mm.
psychic somewhere in my family. I asked my dad
Yeah.
about it. He said he didn't know anybody, but my mom apparently is intuitive to the dead. She knows when someone's there. Like she can
Mm.
see them up here. Like she knows someone's here, and she can like know it's a man or a woman, what they kind of look like. It's almost like a
Yeah.
I don't know what the psychic ability is specifically called, but she can like know when some,
Clairvoyant.
I guess, yeah. She can see who they
Mm.
are and just their face, but as of like getting a message or anything like that, that's so far. But she kind of like has pressed it over the years. Her being very religious, she's kind of like thinking of it. Um,
Mm.
but I
Yes,
knew
I did the same thing.
yeah, I knew I had to come from some kind of psychic line like, somewhere. Kind of find out
Mm.
my mom carries a psychic ability. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, since we're talking about it, let's dive into it. So, for everyone watching, Isaac like has got a very rare ability. So, do you want to like tell them a little bit about it?
Yeah.
What it's called?
Now it was Jane, your friend, who's the one that
Mhm.
actually coined the phrase, or at least the terminology, shadow walker,
Yeah.
because she is one herself, and it's the ability to manipulate or absorb the energy of the dead. And I can, through my hands, I can
Mm.
feel the energy of ghosts or spirits or anything entities on the plane essentially, and the
Mm.
sensation in my hands feels like when your hands go numb, when it get that tingling sensation. It's like when they're going to sleep, and the stronger the entity, the more that sensation feels in my hands.
Mm.
But I've learned to differentiate what kind of spirits I'm feeling. For my left hand is humans, good spirits, just basic people. But with my right
Mm.
hand is dark entities, demons, darkness, anything that dwells in evil, you would say. So usually when I
Mm.
tell Megan my right hand's charging, it's to be cautious because something is evil nearby. And
Yeah.
I, from investigations, from stuff bombarding our house, that's how I learned to differentiate the difference between each one. But she can tell me who or what kind of spirit it is. Like when she says she doesn't get a good vibe from it, and I'm feeling my right hand charge, then that's how I figured out over time that okay, right hand means evil, left hand means good. When it comes to feeling out entities, but that's just one part of the many parts of my ability. Is I also can absorb that energy, take that energy from them into myself, and it creates like a filtering process. That energy when I take it, and then depending on the strength of it, how long later I expel it in a sense, and it almost comes out of me like a breath, like it just leaves me, and it's neutral energy that leaves. So it's not good, not bad. It's just neutral. It's basic neutral energy that leaves, which makes me a viable weapon essentially to any paranormal team. Because if we go in a location that's gets hairy, and we're dealing with something that it might cause problem, I can take care of it. I can take it off the plane. I can make sure it doesn't hurt anybody or do anything. But I guess the major impact to this ability is that I have learned to place my hand to the earth and feel out in a good radius of space, whatever I can see in my mind's eye, essentially, and pull all that energy into myself in an area. So instead of doing individual, take that, I can take an entire area. I call it pulling the energy. I pulled an entire house. I pulled an entire ranch.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure the last time I did one, I pulled an entire neighborhood. And
holy shit, Isaac, that's insane.
Yeah, and depending on which hand is touching the earth, depends on what entities I take off. So some people are concerned when I do a pull, like I'm taking everybody. Like no. If my right hand is to the earth, I'm taking all the evil, and vice versa. If my left hand was to the earth, I would be taking all human spirits, all good people off the plane. If both, everybody's going all at one time. But I never liked taking people off the plane. I never liked doing that to a person because they're there for a reason. They're there to communicate. They're either lost or they don't understand or they just want to communicate with somebody. Yeah. That's why I only ever deal or taking away evil spirits because they're just there to cause harm and mischief and all that stuff. So that's why I'm kind of like a darkness hunter in a sense when it comes to those specific entities.
Absolutely.
And the catch to it is I can't hear them. I can't see them. Any spirits that come that I feel with my hands, I don't know who they are. I can't see, like mentally see them. I don't get any images. I don't have a name or anything like that. So my ability is only in my hands and only with feeling and with energy absorption and stuff like that. Nothing like Megan, who can hear them, talk to them, get messages, what was it? The astral project. You can remote view. She can go places. Like Megan's psychic abilities are far more advanced than mine. Mine is minute to one specific one, and it's rare and powerful, but it's only limited to what I can do, and that's it.
I mean, it's a good ability to have, like, especially like you were saying, if you're, dealing with a, residential case where, the family is getting, terrorized by, negative spirits or, entities, like you're able to help them.
Yeah.
So like when did you discover like all of this? Like when did this happen?
It was September of last year. I remember Megan was telling me all over Instagram and TikTok, all these psychics and all these mediums are talking about a great awakening amongst psychics in September. And they were saying that if you had psychic abilities, you would get amplified. And if you didn't, or you would get some, or like if an ability was hidden in you, it'd be awoken. Lo and behold, I was one of them. To have this ability awoken, and it started with me thinking there was something like physically wrong. Like, why are my hands feeling numb when there's no just consistent circulation to them? Like I'm getting that sensation. My arms or my hands are asleep, but they're not laying on anything. I'm not sitting on a specific position. They have even flow to my hands. So I thought something was wrong until I started my hand started charging in specific areas of our house. And Megan said, "Hey, there's somebody over there." Like she would tell me, like somebody's there. And I'm like, "Oh,
Mm.
that's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling the energy of ghosts."
Wow.
And when we came across
So
dark,
is it
yeah,
is it like, sorry to interrupt you, but like,
yeah.
is it, does your whole hand kind of like get that numb sensation, or?
Where's my camera? Okay, it starts like in the palm of my hand, like right here. And
Mm.
depending on how close I am, it expands and it'll go across my entire hand.
Mm.
The closer and stronger this is, sometimes it's just in
Mm.
the palm, and that tells me something's close. It's like a 4 signal. And then the more closer it gets, or the stronger it gets closer to me, the more sensation I feel. Sometimes it goes up my
Mm.
entire forearm, my entire arm. Sometimes, depending on
Yeah,
the strength of
wow.
it. Yeah.
Mm. And so how did you figure out how to use this like gift once, Megan, said to you, like, I think, this is, you've got something here.
When we went to one of our first ever investigations, she got in contact with a paranormal team that we previously talked to on an interview called API Paranormal. And
Mm.
we found out through one of the members named Brandon, he actually split apart from them and started his own team. And he wanted to see if we would be on there because I remember talking to, I think it was Mike, who's now part of our team. Before I even knew him, about this ability and trying to asking them, have you heard anything like this? Have you heard anything that comes to that? And
Ooh.
they didn't know anything about it, but they said that's very interesting and we'd like to know more on that because they never heard anything about it. And then
Yeah,
later on, I think it was months later, we talked to Brandon about coming out, and then we went to a place called the Octagon House. And
I've heard of
where's it?
that place.
Where is it?
It's in Swansboro.
Swansboro, North Carolina, which is like 30 minutes from us when it comes to area. But yeah, we investigated there, and he told us that there is known dark stuff happening here. And yeah, I probably pulled at least 10 different spirits off the plane while we were there. And then
Wow.
what was strange though is that they said there was a portal in this area, and my left hand followed it, and I found it. And I asked him, "Hey, is there something here?" He says, "Oh, you found the portal." I was like, "This is what it feels like," and it was a strong,
Wow.
it was a very strong sensation. It was very minute and pointed with my left hand, and like it almost went up my entire arm just because it was so much energy coming from it. But yeah, that's one of the first times.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So how do you, like, how do you practice something like that? Like how do you know that, when you're pulling that, like, what happens when you pull, and like, where do they go essentially?
Well, I have only ever seen, because the third eye, essentially, after talking with Mike, who is like our lead psychic, and he's almost like a shaman. He kind of helps out other psychics with their abilities and stuff like that. He's helped out Megan a lot. He's helped out me when it comes to gaining our abilities. But he asked me to try to look through your mind's eye, try to see what you're pulling. And I remember I had to close my eyes in order to actually see. And the only image I got from one of the pulls was the entity made of shadow, but I was pulling the shadow essence off of it. Like it was after I pulled everything off, it was just like blank mannequin of what it was. And it kind of dissipated back to the realm of, I guess, where spirits come from. So I'm not actually taking them. I'm not taking the spirit, like destroying them. I'm just taking the energy that they use to be here. That energy that they use to move things, to touch, to be heard, all that. I take it away and kind of make them have to start from scratch, to, go all the way back around again and take that energy from batteries, from lights, from people. Yeah. So basically, I take them off the plane for a period of time, depending on the entity. One time, I've had that same entity come back twice in one night. So he was very determined, very strong. So that was, yeah.
And was that a malevolent one, like, or a human spirit?
Oh, that was a dark one.
Yeah.
Wow. I think I think it was the they called it hoodoo. It made a
Oh,
clicking sound. You would hear in the woods and all over the digital recorder a clicking sound, a very like distinct coming over.
oh
Um,
my gosh.
and they didn't.
That's
Mike didn't
that's
classify
really creepy.
it. Mike didn't classify it as a demon, but he said if it was, it's a low level one.
Mm.
Yeah.
And you, Megan, when I first talked to Isaac, um, I was explaining to him that, I went through a phase earlier in the year where all my abilities just came freaking crashing on in all at once.
Yeah.
And I literally thought I was losing my ever loving mind. And I even went to the doctor to get my hormones checked. Like, I had no idea what was going on. Um, and I've always had abilities, but I think from my experience at 15, I kind of blocked them out in a way.
Yeah.
I would still get premonitions and things like that would come to pass. But it wasn't until I started, you know, really focusing on my paranormal work that they slowly started rolling on in. And then it was just like crash, kabang, here you go. So you had a very similar experience.
Yeah, well, I've had abilities since I was about like as far back as I can remember, since 3. And I used to like the best way to describe how I used to see them like as a kid is like The Sixth Sense, the movie. Like when that little boy would see people, like I would see them like normal people. And
Mm,
as I got older and I kind of realized what I was looking at and what I was experiencing. And so the older I got, the more I would shut it off and shut it off. And my abilities are generational and they come from my mom's side of the family. My grandmother has it, my
mine
mother
too.
has it, and it got passed down to me. And my mom and my grandmother, they completely pretty much shut off their abilities. And recently, within the last year, theirs has like came and hit them like a brick. And
Mm,
I've slowly kind of helped them kind of go through it because it's a lot. You do feel
mm.
like you're going insane because you're like, and
Yep.
even me, like, even now that I've kind of embraced it, it was like about last year when we started the podcast that I fully was like, because things would, come through every now and then. I'd still, like you said, get the premonition dreams. I'd have
Mm,
like really good gut intuition on people and stuff. But so last year I was like, look, it's something I'm gonna deal with the rest of my life. I might as well just see what I can do with
mm.
it.
Yeah.
And so since then I've been working slowly and slowly, and I'm almost getting back to like where I was when I was a kid in seeing them. Because it depends on the entity. Sometimes they'll straight up like show me
Mm,
the other couple months ago, I had fallen asleep on the futon couch that we have in the playroom for our son.
mm,
And I notice when I get like in between dozing off, like in between the sleep and awake, I get like stuff a lot. And
mm.
I was like in between that state and I heard, "Wake up, Megan, wake up." And I could see the window because we had the windows open. It was like a cool day, or cool night, so we had the windows open, and I could
Mm.
see somebody that looked like they had been in water climbing through the window. And when I opened
Oh
my
my
eyes,
God.
and when I opened my eyes, I saw it, but then as soon as I saw it, it like vanished, and so I wasn't able to
It
see it
it
again.
sounds like the chick in the ring when she's
Oh
climbing
yeah,
on the
yeah.
TV.
Yeah. Well, and then later on that night, my son, something was telling me not, because I think my son has abilities too. I'm almost 100% because it's the same kind
Mm,
of things he does, is the same stuff I did as a kid. And something like I heard in my head, like in my head, like, don't leave him by himself. And so because his sleep schedule is weird. He sleeps pretty much during the day or midday, and then like stays up at night because of sleeping and stuff like that. And I think his dreams and like, I don't know, stuff he experiences wakes him up,
Oh,
honestly.
how old is your son?
He'll be 5 in October.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. So but I was like, I have to get something to eat. So I left him just for a split second, and I got something to eat. And he comes running out like with his hands like this, and is like, I'm going to bed. I'm going to bed. Right. And I was like, okay. And
Oh,
so he lay down, he went to sleep, and I was putting stuff back in the fridge. And coming from that room, I saw a lady come through and like lock the door almost. And I could
oh,
feel like I saw her, but I could feel like hear everything correlating to what I'm seeing. And so
mm,
I could describe her, but like she didn't come to me after that. So I asked another psychic about it, and the psychic was saying, that was on our team as well, was saying that she thinks she committed suicide back in the 70s in one of the rivers
mm,
around here, that she just like jumped and drowned kind of thing. But it correlated to
mm,
everything that I was seeing. So
mm,
so it gets intense. Like I think at the very beginning I was very much like, oh my gosh, what am I seeing? It freaks me out. But I have a little bit less
yeah.
fear now that I can understand more
Mm,
about it. So
yeah. And with your son, like, does he like have you talked to him about, the his abilities or?
see, this is the thing, is like he has a speech delay, and so he can only say certain things. And I've
Mm,
asked him, um like he's saying more and more now. Like he went through like a thing where he's starting to say sentences and things now. And he'll wake up, like he woke up and told me he had a bad feeling, he has bad dreams. And I don't know what the
mm,
correlation is, but I notice, because I have other friends that have abilities that also talk about their sons, and they talk about seeing zombies in their dreams. And I asked, because I have younger brothers as well around his age, and they
mm.
complain about having nightmares about zombies. And I'm like, well, what is it, like a zombie like you see in like video games, Walking Dead? And
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
like,
like The
yeah,
Walking Dead.
they're like, no, it's something else. And they describe it to me, and it honestly sounds like someone that died, but like isn't a zombie, and
Mm,
it's like, it's crazy because it's, my brothers are saying the same thing. My friend's son, who lives like, 2 hours away, so they don't have any way to communicate, that he's saying the same thing. So I don't know if like
mm,
any psychics around know anything about the reference of zombies in dreams with kids.
mm.
Yeah, it's weird, but
Um, yeah, so like, have you got like, all of it? Like, as in, the visual, the audio, like you were saying, you can see them, you can hear them.
yeah.
Um, so,
Well, I my clairaudience, like being clairaudient, is like really, I would say that's probably the strongest. And then, oh, I don't know, Claire. Every time I go down that list, where they have like all the Claire
Claire's,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, I go down that list and I'm like, geez, Louise, like I have that, and like I can remote view
Mm.
pretty well. I get dreams. Something new that started is like channeling. Like
Oh
there was,
my gosh, you too? That happened to
yeah,
me on an investigation recently.
yeah, it's weird because like it
Mm,
happened in this room. We were recording the Ed and Lorraine Warren episode that we did,
yeah.
and there was a woman that has been coming to me. She's in a hospital gown. Like I've actually seen her in my house, and she keeps telling me they're dumping the patients, but that's all she tells me, and that her name's Mary, and that's it. And I'm
Mm.
like, okay, well, I don't know how to help you, if you don't tell me more than that. Um,
Yeah.
so, and a lot of the spirits too, I think they just want their story heard, especially if it was something sudden
Mm,
and no one, as people forgetting about them, they just want it
yeah.
that their story is heard. And so all of a sudden I was recording with Isaac, and I was telling him like, I don't feel good. I don't feel very well. something's going on. And then all of a sudden it's like, because we have this bright light that's over here that normally is on when we do the podcast, and it got brighter and brighter and brighter, and I started seeing like the room morph into a hospital room. And I was looking around, and it was like on top, like the lights were on top now. And I was like, where am I? Who are you? And I was asking Isaac like all these questions, and Isaac said that my one, like it felt like I was literally dissipating. Like it was the weirdest feeling. And it was like, he said that this eye was going one direction and this eye was going another. And I can't do that even on command.
Oh, wow.
No, it wasn't that both eyes go opposite direction. It was like one was staring straight and this one just went like, like looked that way and came back.
Yeah. And
holy shit.
Yeah. And I told, like, I was asking him, it was like I was in my body, but something went in front of me, like cut the line to talk, if that makes any sense. So that, and then I noticed too, like on certain investigations, like certain things I can act out almost what they're doing. Like it's almost like they hijack my body for a second to be able to show what's going on. So yeah, it's that, and that's a lot of me getting used to it, because like it's definitely a weird feeling, because like before that happened, like I said, I started feeling like I was dissipating. Like I was like, what the heck, what the heck, what the heck, what the heck. And and I don't know, and that's the problem right now I'm having, is I don't know how to block that. So if there's like a dark entity, I don't know what it's going to do to me if I don't have like some sort of block to be like, hey, yo, don't do that, you know?
Yeah. So. See, like I'm like, mine are very quiet at the moment, and I've been trying to figure out why. And I can't remember who I was talking to, but they also have like abilities similar to mine. And I said it's like I'm here, but I'm out of my body. That I'm just observing, and I'm just kind of on this remote button, you know, just going with the motions. And I just keep getting that. I don't, like, I know I'm here, but I don't feel like I'm here.
Yeah.
Oh, it was my boss. It was my boss, because my boss and her family have, you know, different abilities. And I said, like, it's just the weirdest feeling. And, you know, like I've astral projected before, you know, and, you know, I can remote view and stuff like that. But this just feels different. I don't know what the freak's going on.
Yeah, I think when we almost start getting a new ability or a new situation starts happening, it gives you like that stagnant kind of like, is there anybody here, you know? Like, because that's with me, like I even thought, like, because we have stuff that kind of comes in and out of the house, because I cleanse and I put barriers up for like darker stuff, but I still allow like you know, lighter stuff that has good intentions to come through and communicate. And there was times where like stuff would just stop, and I'm like, what's going on? Did someone hit the off switch? Like, but it was always right before like a big, either huge download would come through, a huge message, or like a leveling up. So like more expansion to your abilities. And like for me,
I mean, that's quite, yeah, I mean, that could be like what's happening, because like, you know, I explain it to people that when, you know, I felt like I was going insane, you know, the movie Lucy, where she takes that, you know, the drugs leak and her brain like just is more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. Like I just had stuff coming in like non-stop.
Yeah.
And, you know, this stuff was getting confirmed by people. And then it kind of settled down after a few weeks. You know, Jane said to me, all right, you need to like start trying to switch it off. I'm just like, well, how do I do that? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. But it did settle down, and then it would just kind of come in phases. And then I think it was back in June, I had like another like wave of it. It wasn't nowhere near as intense as, you know, earlier in the year, but it was still like I could tell like it was pretty crazy. And then the whole channeling thing, this investigation that I've got episodes of it going up at the moment at Fairbridge. And I asked, you know, my team members to wait outside so I could just go through, have a walk around and see what I picked up before, you know, we got anything. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, I found myself in this back room and I just knew straight away it was where the matron had stayed. And I had no idea that I was doing this. But I started pacing backwards and forwards at the ends of the bed. And then, you know, I've, you know, got my shoulders really, you know, squared up and my chin's like lifted. And it wasn't until I went to put my hands behind my back that I'm just like, what the frick am I doing right now? What the hell?
Yep.
And I'm just like, oh, you clever little thing. Yeah, not today.
Yeah.
And then it kept happening throughout the investigation. I was all over the place. And, you know, I couldn't figure it out until we were driving home. And I said, oh my gosh, that's probably what it was. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's really cool, but it can be quite disconcerting at points too.
Yeah.
So are you able to like cross them over, like help them like move on, or?
Yes, I actually have a pretty cool story that happened to the first time I ever like truly like crossed somebody.
Mm,
So it was like one of the first investigations we did with the first team that we were part of.
mm,
And we were at a library and days beforehand, and this always was the case, like even afterwards, like I would get messages leading up to the investigations. And so I kept getting this vision of me sitting down and reading to these kids. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And so I kept that in mind and we went there and then we kind of like split off into groups because there was about like 8 or 9 of us. And
mm,
so I went immediately into the children's room and I said, because Isaac was with me and another person, and I was like, does anybody want me to read to them? You know, I'm a mom, I have a son, I can read to you, you know, I do it all the time. And so
mm.
we started hearing tapping and like little footsteps. And so I said,
Oh no.
pick any book you want, any book. And
Mm,
so the other girl started hearing a tapping by a sign that said read to me. And so you know, we were saying, okay, well, pick the book. All of a sudden this book goes flying out and it was about
oh
this
my gosh.
boy and a robot, and about how this robot was like left behind. He was like, you know, rusty and whatever, and he just wanted to be home with his family. And
Mm,
we had ghost tube running as it was going. And you know, it was saying a couple things here and there. And before I got to the end of the book, it was saying angel light, angel light, angel light, right? And so I
wow.
read so we stopped, you know, right before the end. And then I read the ending book or ending page, and it said, now the robot has a home. And nothing. It was like, and we all felt like this
Oh,
crazy, like euphoric, like just lifting light type thing. And the next time we invested, or after that,
oh, that's giving me chills.
yeah,
Oh,
after that, this little girl came in asking on GhostTube where her brother was, and I started
mm,
getting things about like maybe that was, you know, like because I knew it was a boy that left, because it was
mm,
about a boy and the robot. And so she was like, where's my brother? And I, you know, I was asking her, do you want to cross? Do you want me to read to you?
mm,
What can I do for you? And she just kept asking, where's her brother? Where's her brother? The next time that we went to this library, I asked if the little girl was still there, and a book about a boy and a robot. Another book flew.
No.
Yeah. So yeah,
Oh my
yep.
God.
Yeah, it was
That's
crazy.
insane.
So
Oh
after
my God.
that, it kind of peeled the band-aid off for me knowing how to cross people. So kind
Mm,
of like the procedure in doing that, because at first I was like, I don't know how to do that. Like, go to the light. I don't know. Like,
oh.
so after that, it kind of showed me, and then I realized like they can also show you. So, what they
Mm.
need. So, yeah.
Um, the first time I did it, I was dealing with a very angry female spirit, and like she was over like in America. So I did this from Australia. Um, she was attached to a friend of mine,
Hmm.
and every single time she knew that I was looking or watching or could see her, she like her face would like morph into like the black eyes, big black gaping mouth, and she would just scream at me.
Jeez,
But
yeah.
she was definitely like a human spirit, but she was just stuck. Like there was, some kind of trauma that happened to her.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, she had come from somewhere, I think in Virginia City, if I remember correctly. But like I had been, trying to help her for a couple of weeks, and like I wasn't getting anywhere. And then I had Jane, when she was living over here with me, uh, without me knowing, because I had my eyes closed, and I was just like speaking, like I was recording like the downloads that I was getting and what I was seeing. And Jane started talking to her and trying to get her to move across. And I was trying to get like a location, so because all I could see of where she'd come from was just like in a black and white form.
Hmm.
And I was asking her, like, is there anything else that you can show me that will give me an idea of where you come from? And all I start seeing is these yellow flowers. I'm just like, what the hell does that mean? Just
Yeah.
yellow flowers. And I'm just like, and that was all like she would let me see. And yeah, so Jane, I heard her start speaking, and I thought, okay. And she was telling her, look, I can help you. I can help you cross over. And, she finally got to the point where she was ready to. And her father was like waiting there with his eyes open, like, his arms open, sorry. And it was probably the most emotional thing I've ever
Oh yeah, it's
I've,
definitely.
I've ever gone through. And she just kept hesitating, and I'm just like, she's hitting that wall, like she's not getting past it. But finally she did. And I said to Jane after some time, I'm like, she's gone. And then all I see on the floor where she'd been kneeling was a bunch of yellow flowers.
Wow.
And I was just like, well, maybe that's what the yellow flower thing was for.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, like I haven't attempted to do it on my own yet. But yeah, it's
It's
very it's very emotional.
Yeah, it definitely is. Like I know the psychic that's on our team, Mike, he it's very emotional. Like I haven't cried yet, but it gets you to that point
Mm.
where you almost like want to, because you feel almost like that angelic love
Yes, yeah.
behind it, and it is it's intense.
Mm.
There was that one time in
But
the library that she's talking about that she had crossed people over, and there was one time that we did a big crossover for all the spirits there. all the children spirits, everyone that wanted to leave. And one of the investigators had a friend who was Jewish, who did a kind of a Jewish Christian / prayer for all his spirits across. And while he was doing that, we had one of the other members have headphones in. He was doing I forgot what name of the test was, or the experiment. But essentially, he has headphones on and he's hearing the spirit box, and he doesn't hear our questions or anything like we're saying. He only hears what they're saying, and he's saying it out loud. And while we were doing that, the big crossover, hear him saying thank you, angelic, seeing angel. So like he kept hearing that over the spirit box. So a lot of people were crossing at one time. And at the end of it, we were done. We were cleaning up, and before we started turning the lights back on, my left hand charged, but it charged immensely. My entire left arm up to my shoulder. Something was there, and I had my hand to it, and it charged my entire arm all the way to my shoulder, and it was strong. And it was powerful. Like I've never felt this kind of energy before from any person. And the only thought that came to my mind at the time was, this has to be an angel. This has to be an angelic spirit, because no human gives off this amount of energy I've ever felt before, especially left-handed as it is. Because I knew that somewhat because of the experience I had in our backyard Halloween last year, where my right hand charged like that all the way up to my shoulder, to which I think I encountered a demon, because the amount of energy it put off my entire arm all the way to my shoulder versus my left. So that was made me think that it was an angel that I came encounter with.
Yeah. You mentioned on Friday when we were chatting that you've been doing some study on demonology.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a bit about that? Like, I have got someone lined up, thanks to you guys. But yeah, it is quite an interesting topic, and there's people who either believe in angels or demons, and there's a lot of people that will only believe in one or the other, not both. But for me, there's got to be angels and demons to balance it out.
Yeah. Well, what I've learned about demons and stuff like that is that there's a hierarchy and there's tiers. Like military, like soldiers, there's your basic foot soldiers. You hear that? I'm sorry, I thought I heard something over the headphones.
I've been hearing some stuff, but
it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
My 10-year-old and I did a mini investigation the other night. I've got someone who likes my pillow, apparently.
Oh. Back to what I was saying. There's a hierarchy, like a military. There's like your foot soldier, basic guys at the bottom, and then you got your lieutenants. You got higher you go until you got the big bads. The big bads on top, and of course you have the highest of all, which is the devil. But you have his underlings, which those names you've heard of. You've heard their names. I'm not going to say them out loud because that's one of the rules. You don't say their names out loud unless you're looking for a fight, unless you're ready for what happens if you do call out their names. But their names you've heard 100 times from different religions, from different places, from any demon book. You've heard the names of the higher end guys. But lower end
it's
people,
like the Z, one of them.
Yes.
That people love to do on YouTube.
Yeah, the Ouija board, which Zio, never really say his name out loud unless he comes over, stuff like that. But apparently, there's a theory that that's not his real name. That's just his Ouija board name. That he actually has a different name that he uses. There's an actual name. He uses the Z name for just basically messing with people through the Ouija board. But what I've encountered majority of the time, I call two different kinds of entities, which is smoke and sand. And that's the energy of what I pull. Majority of what I counter is smoke. It feels like smoke. It's tangible enough to it, and it absorbs easy. Sand though, in the way sand feels is coarse. You can put your hands to it. It moves like water almost. That is a harder entity. Those are stronger. Those have caused me pain, and sometimes it feels like someone has their hand and arm on my forearm and my inner bicep, trying to push my hand down from me pulling at the time I'm doing it. So those are stronger ones. Those are sand level entities. And I think majority of the sand level entities are lower tier demons that I've wiped off many of time that we've encountered. The hoodoo thing that I mentioned earlier, the clicking thing, that was a sand level entity. That caused me pain to take it off the plane.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I've never seen any visible scratches or scars or anything like that because they don't have that amount of energy to do that to me while I'm taking them out. Yeah.
And when you're like you were saying, like you absorb them essentially.
Yeah.
Do they, when you absorb them, do they have the ability to, you know, harm you or attach to you or affect you in any way, like mentally or anything like that?
That was original worry, especially from her.
Yeah.
That they would influence me somehow, but it doesn't work like that. It's I just take their energy and their essence, and they can't affect me because the energy is being filtered. Funny enough, an experience I had with a hag, we call it. It looks like a your run of the mill.
Oh, you're cutting off. Your sound's gone. Can't hear your sound. Your sound's gone. Hang on.
Can you hear me now?
Out there. Yeah. Yeah, it was like your mic had been disconnected.
Yeah, Megan was saying that it didn't want me to talk about it, but I don't give a shit. If she shows up here, I'm taking her off the plane. There was an encounter we had with a hag, like she was stringy, like your typical looking witch thing that I took off the plane. I absorbed her. I took her energy, and it didn't feel like a normal pull. It almost felt like she went in and then missed the point of absorption. And I couldn't figure out why. And then in my head, I had a thought that wasn't mine, which freaked me out a little bit. And through meditation, I was able to go in my own mind, essentially, and I found her. But this was between meditation and dream state. So it was kind of weird. And I found her, and I remember grabbing her behind the back of her head, like by her back of her neck. And can I swear in here?
Go for it.
Okay. I had my hand on the back of her neck, and I was dragging her towards like a fire, like a big furnace, like with a door that closed and opened, right? And it was open. I could see inside. This door was big enough for a person to go in, but the fire was blue. It was a blue flamed fire.
Oh wow.
And I had her, and I was dragging her by the back of her head, and I said, "Bitch, you get filtered like the rest." And I threw her into it and slammed the door behind it.
I bet you love that.
Yeah. But yeah, that was an occasion that one time something got out of the line of being filtered properly. Something came here the other day wanting to pick a fight with us. That was very distorted, very evil. It was very strong at sand level or between sand and smoke. And I took it and I absorbed it and I took the energy away from it. But the next day I kind of had a headache. And it was like almost on the top of my head, all around on top, kind of level headache, which was kind of weird. It didn't feel like pain, like a normal headache feels, but it did like it hurt up here. But after I filtered and I expressed the energy, which was a lot, that headache went away. So I'm thinking sometimes a stronger entity filtering process might cause me pain. But I couldn't tell you what it was or anything like that. Megan says it was something dark that was more intense than we faced before. But we make sure our house, this house, is well protected amongst things because we go out and pick fights with things out there, and they try to come back here to the home base and start.
I was just going to say, like, you know, like where, you know, did this dude come from? Was it just do you think it was just a random thing, or he actually came looking for trouble?
Well, the area that we live in, like the paranormal team that we were with the first round, basically, they said that the apartments that border our area had seen like exorcism takes place there. They've had to remove haunted items. So this area, I don't know what it was. There's like a rumor that like darker witchcraft and satanic stuff took place in the woods that is now like houses. So back in like, the 70s, 80s, yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of like grounding for darker stuff. So
do you think there's maybe some ley lines that are running through the area too? Your house isn't on a ley line, is it?
No, we checked. We actually have an episode coming out this week on ley lines. And there's like a Google thing where you could type in your address and you can kind of like see. There's one about an hour and a half away from us, but there's none running through our neighborhood or our house.
So far as we know.
As far as we know.
Have you ever stood on one and felt like what it feels like?
No. And I know that might be something that I could feel because if it gives off the best way, I usually try to tell people a scientific version of my ability, what it is to go the most scientific way possible is I'm a natural EMF detector. My body can naturally feel EMF, whatever electromagnetic field that spirits give off. I feel that, and not only can I feel it, I can take it. And that's like the most scientific way I can put like a basicness about my ability is I can detect that. But places like that give off heavy amounts of EMF, I should be able to feel that, and I don't know if I could take it or absorb it, or at least maybe even transfer, like see it, anything like that. But coming across the ley line, stuff like that, I haven't. But I really would like to go to is one of them places where all of them meet, like 5 or 6 ley lines cross, intersect at the same time.
Yeah, good Lord.
Yeah, just to know what like that one spot, what it feels like. I know there's one in Oregon that's famously known because it's like all wonky and stuff like that, and stuff doesn't work there. And like it's a lot of optical illusions that happen that are caused, or it causes optical illusions where like someone who's taller than the other, and then they flip positions and that other person's taller. Like you have someone who's 6 foot and 5'5", and then like they automatically see like, okay, this person this tall, but they flip sides and they're automatically different.
Holy shit.
Like that. And you can stand a broom on its edge and it'll lean like this way without falling over. And there's a lot, and like any kind of compass doesn't work around that area.
See, that's how like Jane introduced me to ley lines because Jen, one of my partners on my team, she like her house is very active, and she basically her front door is in line with a ley line.
Wow.
And before we were leaving, because we did do like an investigation there, but before we were leaving, Jane wanted to go across the road because it was all bush over there, and she was just like, oh, like, yeah, like there's definitely a ley line here. And I said to her, well, how do you know? And she went to say it, and I'm just like, no, stop, don't tell me. I'm learning. Let me see. Where is it? Tell me where it is, and I'll stand on it, and I'll tell you like what I feel, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. And yeah, it's pretty much on the ball, but it's kind of like when you're standing on one, you just feel like you want to keep like tilting to one side, and it's just it's a really weird feeling. And so I'm telling Jane, and she's like, yeah, that's pretty much like how it works. Like you'll feel off-centered, like in a way, and that you're gonna keep tipping over because of the magnetic pull or whatever it is. And when I first started working at this new place that I'm at, they knew that I was a paranormal investigator, and they told me that there were quite a few spirits in there, and I'm just like, oh, awesome, that'd be great, can't wait. And you know, and I walk every single time. Like I'll be walking along this particular section of it. I feel like I'm walking like on a slant, and I'll keep like leaning into the wall and stuff. And I said to them, "Are you by any chance like, have you got any ley lines that run through here?" Sure enough, yeah, a ley line like running through there. It's yeah, it's weird, but it's cool. Okay, anyone in the chat, if you have any questions for Isacc or Megan, pop them in. I saw Frankie was in here earlier, and Andrea, and Mason's in here, and JC. Alrighty.
I was looking at the feed over here, or the chat while you're going on. MJC Paranormal, he said he has the same ability. Is he also a shadow walker? I don't know if he's still there or not.
Oh, Mason, can you do the hand thing? You know, like when you said, Isaac, that when you first started noticing it, like your like fingers and stuff would get numb.
No, the sensation felt like your hands are going to sleep, but I could still feel everything. That prickly sensation, like when like you get your hand goes to sleep and you get that like almost pricks, little sensations. That's what kind of feels like as it spreads across my hand and stuff like that.
Because I've been getting like just randomly like fingers tingling or like going numb, and yeah, like I wouldn't have been doing anything. It'll just all of a sudden be one side, both sides, or whatever. It's really weird.
And the best way I can describe it, like I know it said like that sensation when your hands are going to sleep. It's not numb. Like my hands don't go numb. I can still feel everything from temperature to cold to texture, anything like that. It's just that sensation. Yeah. And I'm gonna let Daniel answer that question here. It doesn't feel like that. Like I still just how energy feels when you touch it. I guess that's what the sensation is. The best way I can describe it to someone who doesn't understand. But funny enough, an EMF detector is the best way I can prove this to someone, because I tell people this and it's hard for them to believe because like doesn't make any sense. I've never heard anything about this, but an EMF detector so far is the only proof I have that I actually am doing something. So if you put an EMF detector near my hand when I'm pulling, it will go off. Sometimes all the way to red, sometimes a little flicker green, stuff like that, depending on what I'm pulling. But yeah, it'll go off if you put it near my hand while I do a pull. And I've actually tried pushing that energy out to see if I can make it leave myself and stuff like that. And sometimes I use left hand energy to kind of heal my right arm when it's in pain. That left energy that I push out can sometimes be detected by an EMF detector. So yeah.
Okay, he's got another one. Does anything register on instruments when you have that tingling? I think it meant to be.
Someone spelled it wrong.
Yeah, like so yeah, other than like a K2 or something, are there any other have you tested any other, you know, piece of equipment that would work? Hi, Mike.
No, and an instrument, or I guess he's probably referring to equipment. If that's a Australian terminology, I'm part of it. So.
Hang on. Daniel, I'm pretty sure Daniel's in the States. Are you in the States, Daniel? I'm pretty sure you are. You know what would be interesting, though, Isaac, is to like when you're pulling something, to have someone like have an SLS on your hand, or like a temperature gauge, or even a thermometer. See if it's like detecting, you know, that energy coming in.
Not all paranormal investigator teams can afford nice things like that.
I know. It's so expensive.
I know. An S-less camera or full spectrum camera, I think, are the only other two, I guess, other proofs of evidence that you could see. If you saw a spirit on an S-less camera and I pull it, you would see all the little bar things move in the direction of my hand, is my best guess. A full spectrum camera should able to see the entity somehow, and then you would see the white mist, I guess, that he gives off, or the black shadow move in the direction of my hand, like it's all coming to that point, like a vacuum essentially, or it's being pulled in all the one direction. Yeah, so far that's the only other instruments I can think can actually work to record this, I guess, or at least document it in any way besides the EMF. But
and do your hands go hot or cold?
No temperatures. It just is a sensation. Like I don't get any heat from something or like that. When we first started investigating, it was during the winter time, so I actually wore gloves majority of the time we were outside. So yeah, my hands are already freaking cold to begin with when we were out there. So I never got any, like, it didn't get hotter as I pulled a dark entity, or it didn't get colder as I felt like a left-hand energy or something like that.
Funny thing though, Isaac, when you pulled, as you can tell everyone in a second, when I was telling my mirror story, I did a quick live update after my premiere on Monday, and I just had this, and like, I'm going to take my K2 in there. I have no idea why. See, these are the things that like I do, and I don't question it. I just go with it. But it wasn't, I wasn't even like set up like this. It was just, I'll just sit on my bed and I'll just do a live. And I have my K2 and I decide, let's just have a look at the freaking, see if it's picking anything up. Well, freaking thing was going off like a pork chop over my right shoulder. I went to my left, nothing. I even leant to the side and it was still going crazy.
Peter, not to interrupt you, but it's my left hand's charging over your right shoulder. Like it's I felt something a minute ago and I was like, where is it? I like felt around the room, and then I put my hand towards the screen where you are, and then which now it's dissipating. So that was weird. I don't know who that is. I can't tell you who it is. I can't see them, but I know
had my grandma here. That was, I think, Monday night, and and it was weird because after my live stream, I thought, I packed everything away, and I thought I'll just, put the K2 where I was sitting and see if it goes off. And it didn't budge, didn't do anything. And so it wasn't going off at all. And I'm just like, oh, well, okay then. And so that night I decided I'll just check again, because like I kept getting just like the chills, like out of nowhere, like, that feeling. And I bring the K2 back in and I put it on my pillow, and the damn thing is like going like all the way up to orange, sometimes red, but it's staying at like the yellow. And so I'm just like, there's got to be a logical explanation for this. Because I would put it on, the pillow next to mine, and it would like blip a couple of times, but that was it. There's no like wires in, this back wall here. I pushed all my like electronics, so like, my lamp, clock, all that, all out the way. I moved the K2 up off my pillow, and it is still going off, but it's not regular. I put it back down on my pillow and it's just going crazy. But then I decided, Matty came in and he's just like, oh, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, check this out. And he I think has got you know, out of my 3 children, like some of my abilities. And I think we were talking to one of your spirit guides. He started asking questions, and you know, it had been kind of like at yellow for a while. Matthew starts asking questions, and he says, "Can you make it go to red if you are?" And every time it would like, pew, pew, and then he'd go, "Oh!" And he's like, "This is so cool," and I'm like, "Shh, don't tell anybody." But we picked an EVP up because you know we did an EVP session, and there's a male voice, which is weird because a friend of mine was picking up female, another friend picked up that it was my grandma. I was feeling my grandma, told grandma to go, grandma did go, and then there's this voice that talks over a last word of mine saying, "I guess so," and it's definitely male. So I don't know, like I have things follow me all the time. I think we're kind of like starting a tally on how many ghosty boyfriends I take home with me.
Megan had to go check on our son. She was
okay.
getting a text from our grandmother, or her grandmother about it. Plus, she said she was getting bombarded by something spiritual.
What, on my end?
I couldn't tell you from us, from where. Like I said, we get the big fights a lot. Yours is the same thing from last time, or at least I can same left hand energy, so I know it's a person. I think Daniel asked, because I was looking at the chat. He said if I can do that remotely, and yeah, I've learned, or at least I can feel the energy through electronic devices. So if you video chat with me essentially, and you have something in your house, I can probably pull it from here, regardless if you're across the country. Like you're in Australia, and I'm in fucking North Carolina. And I feel whatever's near you from way up here. So electronic devices like these, this technology is amazing how we don't know what the full potential they could do, like transferring, you know, supernatural energy across the electronic waves. So yeah, I can feel it. Which makes me think if I should start a business, if you got something in your house, do you need it? Give me a call here and a Zoom meeting, and we'll get rid of it for you. So I'm like, start charging people to pull things from their house.
That's maybe not a bad idea. And then you might be able to get some more equipment.
Yeah.
So you have just recently started your own paranormal team called Shadow Walker Paranormal? Shadow Walkers?
Shadow Walker Paranormal. Yeah.
Ooh.
It's just members at the time.
And you're all like psychic, like different types.
Yes. All of us are psychic in some sense. Actually, Megan, because there's 2 Megans on the team. My wife Megan and Mike, our other investigator, his wife Megan, have a very psychic link, almost like twins. And they, they're separated by age by a good 10 years. And they don't understand how they can, almost sense each other's emotions. Like they know when one's afraid or one's worried or something like that, like twins, essentially. And we call them that. We call them the twins because they can feel each other's energy and stuff like that. Mike or Megan's psychic abilities rely on other psychic kind of abilities you've heard before, from clairvoyance, clairaudience, stuff like that. She can, you're run of the mill psychics and stuff like that when it comes to her abilities. But Mike, he's a very shamanistic, a leader or a guide almost for psychics.
Yes, I have a friend like that.
He's very intuitive to his spirit guides, especially one specifically, whose his name is Bert. He's apparently he's actually a spirit, but he comes to Mike as like a surfer guy. Like he has that long blonde hair, the California accent, man, right? That kind of like, and he always, it's funny enough, we hear him through a spirit box. We can hear him, and he's always saying,
my Lord.
He's always saying bro and like he answers the question.
Bro.
Yeah. Like that. He comes over, which is funny. but that's one of Mike's main spirit guides that he communicates with and gets information from. And he knows things about people by coming across from them and meeting them, and he can tell the person, like, okay, you might want to do this, you might want to do that. He communicates with that person's spirit guides because they're giving information to his, and he's passing information on. So he's like, he can know what the spirit guides are saying to each other that can help a person out and move them forward with their psychic abilities. And also he figure things out when it comes to the paranormal game. And of course, me as a weapon of the Shadow Walker, and then Megan extremely intuitive with her abilities. So it kind of makes a good team of just all psychics, essentially. And what's strange is that I hear a lot of paranormal investigators out there that do not have any psychics on their team, barely get any evidence when they go out. They do get evidence, but not all the time. Like, they will go to this location, that location, sometimes nothing. But every single time we go out to anywhere, it's always a lot of activity. Every single time. There's never a time there's a dull night. Never, ever. There's a dull night.
See, I think that we are like beacons to them.
Yeah.
And, don't get me wrong, like, I have quiet investigations, but, our hauntings and activity isn't at the same level as what it is for you guys in the States. But, like, Jen and Adam get frustrated with me because I'm constantly, did you hear that? And Jen will be like, no. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I'm not going crazy. And finally one of them will hear something and I'm just like, oh, thank you. Or I'll pick it up on, the footage. And then I'll be like, see, I told you I heard something.
Okay, Megan just texted me something. I see you have 6 people in the chat. Now, I can't say who or which one because she doesn't know. But she says somebody in the chat has a strong attachment to them, and it's not good.
Ooh.
So whoever's watching right now, if you have anything dark attached to you, you're dealing with something like that, let us know. Because whatever it was, it's not good and doesn't like Megan because she was picking up on it. And it doesn't want to be found. It doesn't want to be found. What's she saying? It doesn't want to be known. It's trying to keep itself hidden. But she felt it.
And I just noticed that Dan from Spirit Encounters joined. When did she feel it?
About the time she left, so about now 20 minutes ago.
Dan. And it's good to see the Dan's in the house. Yes. Okay.
I see people asking, how would you know? What I learned about with demons and stuff like that. I'm not saying it is a demon. But what I've learned about with demons when it comes to oppression and possession, oppression is the first level of access to possession. Oppression, they try to beat you down emotionally, making you depressed, making you sad, taking away your friends, making you feel alone, all those aspects of just breaking down your will until you basically give up as a person, and then it allows you to get in, and then it seeks in like a parasite and takes over. If someone's dealing with a dark entity of any kind of attachment, they'll feel that. They'll feel depressed. They'll feel anger for no reason. They'll get agitated over little things, and they won't feel like themselves. Because this presence, when it's around, will create that sense of emotion. It wants you to be mad. It wants you to be sad. It wants you to be angry. It wants you to lash out at people that are close to you. So it'll create that sense of mind around you. So that's the best answer I can give.
Check your IGDMs, Dan. Okay. Daniel was saying you've read a lot of demonology.
Several different books that actually was suggested to me by I forget his name. His name is Anito. He's a bishop, along with Carl Johnson. Carl Johnson, if you anything to know in the paranormal, he's like one of the OG investigators. He's been doing it since like the 70s, way back when. He actually worked with the Warrens. He was the first one to he was first on call to the Conjuring House. He actually pointed the warrants to the Conjuring House. It was Carl Johnson, his brother Keith Johnson. And I did an interview with them way back last October during Halloween time. Yeah.
Sorry. Adam, he's one of my partners. He got me possessed. Well, I've tried, Adam. I've tried. Oh, good Lord.
But yeah, they pointed me in a lot of direction when it comes to demonology, different books to read, different stuff like that. Which you can find different books. Plus, Carl Johnson, his own book goes into demonology and stuff like that, and his own experiences.
I think it's a good idea to do a base sweep first when using K2. Then you know you are not getting a false positive. That is true. And Jen sent me a article on knowing when you're getting those false positives from, paranormal equipment. And, this is a good thing about, the people I have on my team is, like Jen has, certain abilities, and she's also, she's a believer in the paranormal, but she also likes to, what's the word? Like we try and rule out everything, right? So environmental, anything that can be. And then Adam, well, he's more of a skeptic. Like he believes that there's stuff out there, but until he came out with me and actually heard like EVP or heard, say a knocking or whatever, that there was no logical explanation for, skeptical believer. So it's good because it brings like a different perspective to our investigations. And sorry, I'm just sending Dan a link. He's going to have a chat.
I would talk with Megan. She usually handles most of our social media. Not me per se, but Megan can tune in to what this is and anything like that and give you information. Mike essentially is more that's more his strength, is tuning into what it is. So we go to him to any kind of situations like this. Like I said, I'm the weapon to get rid of it. They are the inspectors to find something. I'm the exterminator that comes in afterwards. That's the best way you can put it. But with our paranormal team, I guess the best way I get across to some people is that we're not your usual paranormal team. We're not out to get evidence. Our main objective is to go to a place that's haunted and make it less haunted by helping spirits move on, or take out the spirits that are causing people pain, or even the dark ones that are keeping people there imprisoned. Because we've encountered places like that have there are entities there that feed off the good human spirits that are there by keeping them there in a consistent loop. And when I go in there and I take these out, of course, it pisses them off, but it helps the other spirits pass on. Funny enough, one time we actually, at that same library, the first time we ever went there, I felt something near the building. We couldn't go in because we were locked out. The curator forgot to leave us the keys to unlock the building. So we were locked out of the building. We called him. We were waiting outside for him to show up. He never called us back. And like that was the first time we went there. And something was close to the door, and I pulled it with my right hand. I took it off, and it was kind of strong. And Mike automatically got attuned to what I did. It's like, what did you do? Like, there was something near the door. I got rid of it. It's like, you pissed somebody off. Like, what do you mean? It's like, apparently he got a message or something that there was 3 dark entities there that were like the 3 big bads that were keeping everyone else in line. And I just got rid of them. And the other 2 are mad now that you took out that one. I was like, oh, well.
You're still line on up.
Yeah. So when we went back to that location and we actually got inside, one of the first investigations, the first times we were there, there's an upstairs kitchen area that I guess the staff uses for the break room. And one of the chairs, and remember, this team that I was part of, they've gone there multiple times before. So this is not new to them. It's new to me. And they said this room, the break room, has a lot of activity, dark activity. And they wanted to see how I reacted to it or what reacted to me while I was in that room. And I sat in a chair, apparently, that was favored to one of these dark entities. And they were asking him through Ghost Tube, are you pissed that he's sitting in your chair? What are you going to do about it? Like, they were provoking this thing. And it was saying, kneel. It was saying, get out of my chair. It was saying, like, demon and stuff like that, to which we knew it was. And then something came up on my right shoulder, like behind me, and I instantly pulled it, whatever it was. And it was the one of the three. And we got over the Ghost Tube saying basement. So we went down to the basement of this library. Granted, this library is built back late 1800s, so it's pretty old.
Wow.
It has a basement like that, and it was over multiple different things. That's why it was haunted. It was a child's pediatrician's hospital, but it had dealt with a lot of dying kids during the tuberculosis crisis.
Tuberculosis,
yeah, during the early 1900s, and then the Spanish flu. So it was actually a hospital at one time, so people died there. And then through the years, over what it used to different things before it became a library. But I went down the basement, and we hear over the Ghost Tube, get out of here, you're not welcome, stuff like that, to which my right hand charged. And so I did a pull from the ground. I put my hand to the stone basement, and I could feel the energy, and I felt the entire library, the whole building itself. And they were doing the Lord's Prayer, the two of the investigators that were with me. And they had Ghost Tube on, and I was pulling at that time. I had my hand and I pulled, and you could hear the Ghost Tube saying, shut up, stop talking, right? And different things like this. And after I did the pull, and I pulled this energy all in me and stuff like that, I took it off, and it was a lot. I got up, I was kind of like a little hazy, like a little dizzy. And then we didn't hear anything of the Ghost Tube. It was quiet, it was silent. And we had the flashlights looking around just to make sure, everything was all right, nothing was moved or anything. And we see on the ceiling of this basement, granted, I'm 5'10", and the ceiling was maybe in arm reach. So the ceiling was probably 6'3" at highest, so I could touch the top of it. But we see these claw marks of fingers, like being pulled in one spot and then streaking away.
No.
As if someone was holding on to the ceiling and being dragged into the energy.
Oh my God, that's nuts.
The fingers, though, we thought it might have been one of us. Did we touch the ceiling? No. The fingers were wider and bigger than all of our hands.
Holy shit.
We couldn't have made this if we tried. The fingers were too big for our hands. Yeah. Was funny crazy. Though. Yeah, it was still amongst things. But after
if you keep pulling, then you're not. Then there's going to be nowhere to investigate, Isaac.
Therein lies a conundrum. Yeah. This is a reason why we might have enemies with other paranormal teams.
I was just going to say.
Because they're going to go to a place looking to get popular and famous, like Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, and all the ghosts are gone. Because Shadow Walker Paranormal came through and took everything out. Yeah.
Oh, no. Gosh. So do you do it at every location then?
Yes. After we figure out who's here or what's going on or anything like that, we do a prayer, and then I do a pull. And I pull any dark energy that's lingering on the outskirts of the area that we are, just to basically clear it. And after I pull, we ask any spirits if they want to cross over. Like, was that entity keeping you there? Stuff like that. And that's when Megan or Mike would try to cross spirits over. Excuse me, that want to cross over.
Adam's saying, why don't we ever get anything like that, Peter? Well, because, Adam, like, we're going to locations that aren't like the big ones. Like, okay, for instance, Isaac, we've got one of the most haunted buildings in Australia, in Perth, right? Fremantle Prison. And for us to investigate there, it's going to cost us $1,100 for 4 hours. And this place is humongous. There is no way in how I'm going to be able to get an investigation done with 3 people in 4 hours. Like, it
No.
just won't happen. So, like, the really, really big haunted, like, you know, locations that we want to go to are either hideously expensive or, you know, they're under the National Trust, which means you've got to jump through a bajillion single hoops. Did you say something?
No. Why, did you hear something?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. That was weird.
No, I was reading.
Did you hear anything then? I just
No.
heard like a little kid giggle. No shit.
I'm trying to think. No, my son's not near the door, so no. One thing that people can understand, I always tell this to someone when I do a Zoom meeting or something, I should warn them ahead of time. Spirits can move through the electric waves and stuff like that. Hence why I can feel them. So whatever's on your end can come over here, and whatever's on my end can go over there. So
yes,
I always say forewarning, just in case your house gets more haunted after we're done talking. So
see, Dan heard it too. There was a voice there. Again, it's a little kid. And Matthew asked on Monday night when we were doing our EVP session if it was a child, and the EMF went up to red.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, I just read that comment from, I think it was Jennifer. She said, do you think there's been a surge of negative energy entities? Yes and no. A lot of them have been here for a long time, just no one's been around to take them out like I have. They've been basically running amok as much as they could without any remorse, or at least any consequence, until they come encounter with me. But I think, this is my opinion on it, is that the more people forget that some things are evil, symbols, sayings, hell, even some games people play that are technically rituals, can conjure these things up, or at least bring them to the forelight. Which is a theory that I think I talked about with Megan before, or I don't remember if it's you, but I think majority of us psychics, like myself, are being awoken in a sense to combat a surge of darkness coming, or darkness here, darkness happening. I don't know. It's almost like a great spiritual awakening in a sense like that. And the more that more people, leave, traditional religion behind and kind of focus more on spiritualism and stuff like that, you'll have a lot of people doing good things with spiritualism, but you also have a lot of people dwelling in the dark, and that will cause more dark entities to come out because they're allowing them. Yeah, people creating portals. Some kids that are putting a pentagram on the ground and putting fire around it and stuff like that, and thinking there's nothing of it. Oh, it's just whatever. It's nothing real. They're actually creating something, allowing something to come through, and they don't even know it. And then
and I've said that before too online, like even, and I've said to Matthew, I don't ever think because there are just so many videos on YouTube of all these different games and, just kids mucking around. And, I've said to him that you never know who you're inviting. I heard a voice again, who you're inviting in. And you might walk away, and all those people might walk away thinking like, oh, what a joke. But they've got no idea that, they could have just invited some freaking big, bad and ugly in. So it's just, not worth it. Not worth it at all.
Yeah, that's why I tell people to stay away from Ouija boards, because it's not the Ouija board itself. It's the act of what you're doing. You can make your own Ouija board out of anything, but the moment and act of what you're doing can cause something to come through that most of the time is not your friend, and will cause tremendous amount of pain and torment you as much as it can, because that's what it feeds on. And that's what
classic example. My daughter and her friend just drew one on paper.
Yeah.
ended up opening up a bloody portal in a room. Like,
If you remember,
they didn't think anything of it.
If you remember, I think it was like 5-6 years ago. I can't remember now. There was that trend of all those kids doing that Charlie game.
Yeah, that one too.
That was calling on a demon.
Mm.
And they had
That's
no
what
idea.
I told Matty. Yeah, I told Matty that the other day. I'm like, dude, they're not talking to a child named Charlie. They don't know who they're talking to. Like, they could be talking to the bloody devil for all they know. But, yeah. Anyway, have you guys got any other questions before we head off?
Tarot cards,
Tarot cards.
That's more of if a person's doing the right way, they're talking to their spirit guides and it's focusing their chances of what cards they pull and interpretation. Kind of like a pendulum. Megan, she works with a pendulum every now and then. And the way a pendulum is supposed to work is that you're speaking to your higher self, and it's your higher self is giving you answers you ask, depending on the chart you use. So necessarily not an evil thing. It can be if you use it in that way, but it necessarily is not.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same, Dan. Ouija boards and haunted dolls, and I'll just add an extra one: mirrors, old ones, antique, any size, doesn't matter. Do you think these trends are tools of demons such as English spirits trying to get people to unwittingly release other demons or open up stuff?
Yes. And I usually don't care people's opinions on Satanists or those who actual Satanists and those who just say they are and are actually atheists. All right. And the weird terminology that I don't understand, like how can you call yourself a Satanist, worship satanic symbols and stuff like that, but say you're atheist and you're just using it for
exactly.
You're making excuses for what you're doing. If you're an atheist, you wouldn't have a church, you wouldn't have religion, you have nothing because you're an atheist. You don't believe in anything.
And you wouldn't believe in anything. That's right.
Yeah. So having a satanic church but saying you're atheist is almost an oxymoron kind of statement. And I believe the more people are dwelling into that, they are allowing things to come forth, bringing those symbols to the light, bringing them around, having them around consistently, people putting pentagrams and demonic symbols out there into the world and stuff like that. It's basically feeding them and allowing them to come forward because they see imagery that is attached to them and they go, oh, this person knows what I'm doing and wants me in their life. I'm going to come there. And over time, depending on who the person is, they might get not possessed or oppressed, but they might get affected. Like I said, it attacks.
And I think they can use them as like gateways to, a way to travel around. Called it psychodrama. Oh, New World Order, powers that be, all evil now, global lockdown, violating human rights.
I don't think it has anything to do with it, but did you avoid antique stores? You know what's funny? Megan actually went to an antique store recently, and she could feel the energy from everything there.
Yes, I do avoid them. Sean made me go into the one at York, and she just kept saying to me, like, you don't want to be in here, do you? I'm like, no, heard a voice again.
It's on your end, not mine.
And, I wasn't in there very long. And I said to her, look, just take your time. I'm just going to wait outside. She's like, but, you love antiques. I said, yes, I do. But I just don't like being in an antique store. It's just too much. Too much. Like, I feel like I'm surrounded.
It's funny. I went to the same antique store that Megan was talking about, that she felt the energy from, and I tried to feel around with my hands, and I could feel light energy and stuff like that. And that's a question that came up one time: is that if I can feel haunted objects? Yeah, I can. If the haunted object has a dark entity attached to it, I can feel it, and only that, I can pull it. I can make it a not haunted object anymore, which always made me curious. What would happen if I countered Annabelle? Like, what would happen? Like, could I pull that energy from her to make it not haunted anymore, and basically make it an empty vessel, essentially?
Or if you went to Isacc Megan's museum, that apparently is won for a second year in a row the best haunted museum in the world or something, that you like took. Could you imagine like people going in there just being like, cool, it's a doll. Oh, cool. It's a mirror. Mm-hmm. Yep, cool.
Like his objects there would still hold significance in its history behind it, but they'll no longer cause anybody any problems. Like if I went to his museum and I just like pull the entire building with everything in there, yeah, he'll be like, come the next day, he'll come in and like, why is everything wrong? There's no energy in here.
Mate, you'd have assassins coming after you. Yeah. All right, well, I guess we'll end it there, everybody. We have gone a bit over time this morning, but it's just, Isacc Megan have just got some awesome stories. So thank you, everyone, for joining. And where can they find you around the place, Isacc, for your podcast?
Hidden in the Shadows podcast. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts, from Apple, iTunes to Spotify to wherever you get podcasts from. Our social media is like Instagram is Hidden in the Shadow Podcast on Instagram. Hidden in the Shaw 6 on Twitter. Hidden in the Podcast 2 on TikTok. I'm not saying it with a Boston accent. It just sounds like that, or spelled like that. But if you want access to, I guess, everything, our Hidden in the Shadows podcast.com has access to all our social medias, or links to it, links to everywhere you can listen to us. Also linked to our store where you actually can buy shirts we got for sale. We actually got a cool Believe in the Paranormal shirt. It's just like basic print. It's pretty cool. Megan designed it. It looks pretty neat. And then, of course,
I'm getting hassled big time for merch, and I keep changing my mind. I cannot make a damn decision. And then when I'm like, oh, that looks awesome, then I'm like, yeah, but there's that part I don't like. And because I'm so OC flipping D about everything, it's like, and then I'm like, okay, I'm not working on this anymore. I need to take a break. But yes, eventually. But yes, that's good. Everybody, go listen to Isacc and Megan's podcast. It is absolutely phenomenal, and they have had some really amazing people on their podcast and talking about all different things, from Hollow Earth to the depths of the ocean, and the new one that's out now about highlights. Friday.
Yeah, well, we have new episodes come out every Friday, and bonus episodes we do with interviews and stuff like every Wednesday. Like yours was today.
Oh yes, and my interview is out today.
Yeah. And we're gonna try to do bonus episodes every month of October, and including this month leading up to Halloween, with different people in the paranormal world whatsoever. So we look forward to those because we have different things, and also we actually have a big paranormal roundtable episode that we're going to record with about 6 to 7 different paranormal investigators. And funny enough, we had such a strong response from it that we actually have to do 2 different days. And that's just the paranormal investigator one. Megan is actually doing another roundtable with all psychics and all mediums.
That'll be awesome. I'll have to definitely listen to those ones.
But those are coming in October. Yeah.
Cool bananas. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'll have a chat to you after I finish the live. And thank you all for tuning in and listening. I've had a complete brain freeze. I will let you know who my next guest is in a couple of weeks. Well, probably, within the next couple of days, I'll tell you who it is. But yes, I need to, confirm. So, alrighty. Have a good one, everyone, and stay safe. Bye.